All right, first I'd like to thank Pat and Mike for being here tonight to answer questions around their upcoming fight right here at the River Center in Davenport, Iowa on Saturday, October 15th at our two-night event, Caged Aggression 36, Bad Blood. The way we'll do this is pretty standard. We'll take questions one at a time, give each of them time to respond, and obviously we'll keep things professional and on track. We'll open with some pre-submitted questions from members of the media that were unable to attend, followed by the media that joined us remotely through our Zoom Live, and then all other questions after that. So if that makes sense to you guys and everybody up here on stage, we'll go ahead and move forward with our pre-submitted questions. All right, first up for Pat, simply enough, this is a two-parter. Simply enough, what is it that brings you back to the cage? Would you be fighting again if this matchup wasn't presented to you?
Well, as people know who are here in the Quad Cities, that Michael Nunn and I competed in a kickboxing match. Number one, because we're friends, because he's a legend, one of the greatest boxers to ever walk the planet, and we decided to do that to unite our community and get people out. And during a lockdown, we had between 4,000 and 5,000 people come out to teach people, help people understand that they could, take back their freedom if they really wanted to. And that's really what it was about. And Mike and I agreed to do that together as friends, and that's what that was. I had no desire to punch Michael Nunn. I love the guy, but there was a reason for it, and there's a reason for this, and that reason is, Mr. Jackson wrote a false article about me with a lot of blatant lies, and it cost me my job. It financially hit me, and it affected, more than me, it affected my children. So, that to me is that's where things stop. That's where things stop. And at some point, you have to leave the internet, and you have to step into the real world, into that cage, and answer for what you did to me, which was complete bullshit, cowardice.
Next one up for Mike. Mike, what is it about Pat that bothers you so much?
First of all, I enjoy the scripted answer that Patrick just gave us. It's all this narrative that he created in his head because it's a man who can't take responsibility for his own actions. None of that happened, by the way. Everything that he's talking about that I caused, I did it. He caused it himself, and he refuses to take responsibility for his own actions. And so because of that, he has to play the victim. He has to find someone to blame other than himself, and I was that person. So that is why we're here. And what was the question? I just wanted to respond to what he was saying.
Well, the question is, what is it about Pat that bothers you so much? But there's a follow-up to that about, is this matchup...
Well, let me answer what he just said.
Let me finish. Let me get my question.
Go ahead.
So I just, look, Pat Miletich means nothing more to me than a piece of lint, right? And he begged for this. So I'm only obliging someone who I used to be friends with. This is something that he wanted, and why not? I get paid. Look, I enjoy punching people in the face. I don't have to do it. I could have been anything I could have wanted to be in life. I could have been a doctor, I could have been a lawyer, engineer. I actually went to school to be an engineer, but I fell in love with fighting because I enjoy punching people in the face. So when this opportunity came up, I was just like, why not? Let's do it for him.
A little business and personal then?
Sure, but he wants to respond. I'm gonna let him respond.
Go ahead, you did have something to say, Pat.
I think just the unhinged situation we found ourselves in this country, with people who are redressing a grievance with their government about the voting system in this country, simply, obviously, the vast majority of those million people did nothing wrong, including myself, and it's perfectly legal to do that. And to jump the shark, to then write an article about me that is the headline that says Pat Miletich supports domestic terrorism and white supremacy, is completely unhinged and complete lunacy, and it's
Okay.
So when that impacts, like I said, my children's lives, we've got a serious problem, Mike. We've got a serious problem.
Fair enough. He didn't like see, it's all about branding with people, right? You can't support white nationalism and then when you're called out for it, you get upset. Like, that's not how this works. Own it. Look, if that's what you own, because it is, like, that's all you do. You do the MAGA, you do the QAnon shit. That's what you, just own it. Look, David Duke would be so upset at you for not owning your beliefs. It's about the branding. So,
David Duke is a Democrat.
When you do...
And I'm not a Republican.
When you do things like go to an insurrection, right? And then you lie, like you went online, made a whole video, was like, yo, I got fired because I went to the insurrection. First of all, that didn't happen. You never got fired. And I know for a fact because Ed Soares called me because he was upset. Right, I saw the video that you put out saying I got fired. You took the video down because Ed called you, was like, Pat, we didn't fire you. We just said don't come to the fights this week because you went to the insurrection. In my video, again, people laugh at the shit that I say, and then just with the press release that Ed put out, I said Ed told him not to come to the fights this week because he was at the Klan rally. And that's why Ed called me, because he was like, yo, we didn't say Pat went to the Klan rally. I was like, I know, that's why I put the press release in there. And his response, which sums up your whole ideology, was like, well, Mike, people not gonna read that, which is crazy that people don't read anymore. It is based on that. So again, the article was post Ed calling you saying, hey, just don't come this week. We gonna have you back next week. You jumped, speaking of jumping the shark, you jumped the shark when you said they fired you, because they never fired you.
That was in the works, trust me, after my conversation.
That has nothing to do with me then. If it was in the works, that had nothing to do with me.
It does, because they were under so much pressure from so many phone calls and emails because of the lies that you wrote caused them to be in the middle of something that they didn't deserve to be in, period. They are still friends of mine. They're good human beings, but they didn't ask for that. And you threw them and their whole company into that bullshit, and that's another place where you were completely wrong for doing it.
Pat, well, you still have the mic. Let's look at October again, a little more forward to October again. Another one of the questions, we've seen a lot of legends come back to the cage, and frankly, sometimes it's been disappointing and sometimes even embarrassing. Why will this be different for you?
Well, because I'm actually training. I'll be in shape for this. Michael Nunn and I did not even train for our fight a couple of years ago, because we're buddies and we weren't out there to knock each other out or anything. But check. But no, I feel good. The guys that I'm training with, the BJJ black belts and the professional boxers that I'm training with, I feel quite good for mid-50s, trust me.
After so much time on the sideline, Mike, this one's for you. After so much time on the sidelines, what are you expecting out of Pat once the bell rings?
That is an amazing question. I have been around fighting for so long, both the ends, behind the scenes, in the gyms, and I can sort of tell what people can possibly bring to the table. I have no idea what Patrick is gonna bring come out. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have zero notion of his abilities at this point in life. If I'm being honest, it doesn't matter. He can train with the black belts, he can train with the boxers. They can't save him come October 14th. None of that matters.
Any response to that, Pat, or should we keep moving on?
No, we can keep moving on. I mean, this is going to be entertaining, I can tell you that. This is going to be an
Yeah,
entertaining
as
fight.
you know, it is going to be entertaining.
Quite
Here's a funny thing, right? So everyone, for the most part, like they know me for the whole CM Punk shit, right? And so for me, and there's a connection between. That's why I bring this fight up. I'm a generally like nice guy, right? Like if I know someone can't fight, it's in my heart and in my soul to not hurt that person. Leading up to the Punk fight, this man went on ESPN and he called me a bum. And this was someone who had never had a legitimate fight in his life. So to that extent, like I kind of took it personal because for me, like I've been training for so long. I was like, how is this dude who's never had a fight gonna call me a bum? So leading up into that fight, I had every intentions of hurting this man because of it. Because I'm like, yo, we got to fight, right? He threw like a double jab, like the fight starts. He throws a double jab, and in that moment, it wasn't that he was like a bad fighter. Like CM Punk, Phil Brooks, he can't fight. And in that moment, I was like, oh shit, like I can't hurt this guy. But because he said what he said, I had to beat him up, right? Not even trying, I sent that man to the emergency room. Like, I'm not even gonna say it wasn't even sparring. Like, I was really doing it for shits and giggles. I was fucking around, and I sent CM Punk to the emergency room. He knows it for a fact because he and I were in the back, and right behind us, CM Punk is throwing up because he was so concussed. We hear this kind of noise going on. So I said, hey, Pat, go see what that is. Pat goes around the corner, and then when he comes back, he was like, bro, like, you really fucked Punk up. Like, they sent him to the emergency room. So if I sent CM Punk to the emergency room, not even trying, what do you think I'm going to do to you with every intention of this being a real fight? Because I know, despite whatever age you are, I know you have these abilities and skills. I know you're coming to do harm. I get that. But you can fight. I'm not putting you in the category of someone who can't fight. I'm not going to show this, I'm not going to have this compassion for you, which is really wild. Like, you know what I did to that, and then you text me and you said, oh, bro, you suck. You couldn't even finish CM Punk. You text me that, and I'm like, yo, that is a wild statement to make from someone who knows my abilities and my skill set, Patrick.
I just want the best Mike Jackson. I really do.
This is the best Mike. You are definitely going to get that. You are definitely going to get that.
Pat, while you still have the mic, another pre-submitted question. Will this fight bury the hatchet between you and Mike?
Well, I think ultimately this is about. It's not even about Mike and I. When I fought Michael Nunn, I had no desire to hurt another human being at that point in my life. I don't have the desire to hurt anybody in my life these days. I mean, I spend my time working on organic agriculture projects, human health and performance. You know, that's the stuff that I do. I try to help people with their health. And I try to help people understand that if we don't heal the soil, we're up shit creek. We're at that literally tipping point. They're talking about another dust bowl in the Midwest because the soil is so damaged. We're in a serious situation. So these are the things that I care about. I care about mankind. I care about their health, and I care about people educating themselves as to how to actually stay healthy. That's the stuff that's important to me. Hey, it's awesome. I'm getting in fight shape. Perfect. In my 50s, awesome. You gave me a reason to get back in shape, Mike. But ultimately, this is about all the active military that had to decide between serving their country and taking an experimental treatment. This is about all the people that lost their jobs because they stood up for their rights. This is about mass cancel culture based on lies the entire 3.5 years that all of this has gone on. Not to mention all the people that have committed suicide and lost loved ones and everything else. So your lies are just on that same, but you made it personal, where we've seen it done en masse to citizens across this country. So this is for all those people that it costs them a price. People have lost their houses, they've lost their businesses, and we're not talking a few people. We're talking across this entire country, massive amounts of people.
I like that though. I do agree with him in the fact that he wants to. This is my first time in Iowa. Cool little town. Where are we at? Davenport. This is a cool little town. I can't come. When I come back, I'm bringing all the money because I love the vintage shop. That's my thing. And y'all got some cool little shops around here. I'm definitely gonna hit those up when I come back. I like that. Like again, the Dust Bowl and all that. I'm unfamiliar with that, but I'm sure that agriculture is a very important thing out here, and we do need to kind of get that in check. I don't know. I'm ignorant to it, but Patrick knows. So hopefully this does bring some eyes to that issues going on in the area. Where is this considered the Midwest? I'm just curious. Midwest? Okay, yeah.
Mike, while you have the microphone, next question's for you. Have you gotten a lot of messages and DMs saying they're rooting for you against Pat or even otherwise?
Ooh, that is a great question. People don't understand like fight. Like, I'm a sociologist, so for me, my interest in the sport is different than a typical fighter. Look, for the most part, people get in this sport, their goal and objective is to be like a champion of some sort. For me, I've just gotten it because I just enjoy punching people in the face. Nothing more, nothing less. Like I said, I could have been doing other things in life. So I have various interests, and so the people outside of the MMA world who's found out about this sport, they've kind of dubbed it like the Axis. What is it? The Axis, the Allies versus the Axis kind of fight, which is kind of cool, but from a World War II people out there. They are definitely rooting for me, but MMA is an awkward and kind of stupid space, and there's a lot of unintelligent people in the MMA sphere, and there's a lot of people who's like, yo,
that's a great way to garner new fans for you, bud.
Look, that's not my objective, so whatever. They're like, yo, Pat, he's old, but he's gonna knock your ass out, and I'm like, yo, that is so cool. I hope you tune in and get this pay-per-view and watch Patrick try to do whatever he said he was gonna do to me.
Pat, same question for you. Have you gotten any messages, DMs, anything like that in support or opposite of that as far as
I've gotten all positive stuff. Go get it, get in shape, go have fun, put this guy where he belongs to sleep. And that's really the whole of all the messages I've gotten. And it's nice because there's even people that he trains with that are messaging me going, end him. And so your fellow Texans don't like you, bro.
I fully believe. Again, MMA is such a crazy space. Like, you can, and I used to tell people all the time, once you enter an MMA training room, you're going to be able to train with people from all walks of life. You'll be able to train with someone who possibly just got out of prison, someone who's like a bagger at a grocery store, up until doctors and lawyers and professionals and everyone in between. So again, the fact that he's saying that people are messaging him in support, I fully expect that to happen. But here's the thing. I don't care. None of that matters. They cannot save you. Come fight night.
Again, while you have the mic, does this fight pave the way for a possible friendship between you and Pat down the road?
No, I just told you this man's life means nothing more than a piece of lint. I don't think people, like, for me, I'm a logical individual, right? And look, I remember
at least you called
me
a man and not a snow roach.
The first time I met Pat, right? This was, I don't even remember, this was probably like fucking 15 years ago or something like that. And look, I'm not all in the political world and all, particularly at that time. And I was aware of Pat's conservative views. That's not my issue. I have no problem with someone who's a Republican or conservative. That's not my issue, because if it's about policy, we can have conversations about policy. My issue with Pat is when he jumped the shark and went full MAGA and doing the QAnon and all that. That was my issue with him, because that is past. That's not about policy. It's affecting people's lives, and he wants to whitewash that. That's fine. I don't care. But when I first met him, we were in Dallas. We went from Allen to Dallas because you had a seminar at Octagon MMA, and I wanted to have an actual conversation with someone who I knew I was different than. And at that point, the dialogue, that's how we became friends. For many years, we were friends. We would have these discussions over dinner, and it was productive. I understood where he came from. I believe he understood where I came from, which is why all this is so weird. I was like, this man, he talks about all the black friends that he has, but he supports white nationalism. That is fucking crazy to me. But guess what? This is MMA. It's fighting, and that's to be expected.
I don't even know where to begin with that. I don't even know how to analyze what you just
You
blew
don't
out of
have
your
to.
mouth.
Just say, okay, next question.
I don't talk about all my friends, what color they are, or anything, ever. I don't talk about that. That's something I don't do. And again, having an issue with what most Americans observe as things are a little goofy in our country, if you hadn't noticed, and having a few problems to address with the government that we have, that's not white nationalism. That's common sense and saying, hey, we've got some serious issues in this country and it needs to get fixed.
Somebody should have got this man a ghostwriter or somebody to write this shit. Like, y'all should see the text messages this man sent me at like midnight, 1 in the morning were so much more energy than what you're putting out right now. Bro, give me that Pat Miletich, the one who sent me them wild-ass text messages at midnight.
Now it's business. My emotions for this are gone. Now it's business. So I don't need to scream and yell. Trust me, you pissed me off. You pissed me off. You cost me a lot.
No, you cost yourself. Take
You
responsibility for your actions, Patrick.
Yeah, I stood in Washington, D.C. totally legally, didn't do anything wrong.
He went cooling.
Nothing. Took pictures with people
cool.
who recognized me. I don't do background checks on people who want pictures with me. Obviously, you're not used to that situation, so you're not familiar with it at all, right? So I take pictures with anyone who asks me to take a picture, right? God knows, I've taken pictures with probably a lot of felons. I don't even know it, right? But that's okay. They're fans.
Pat, what's the most likely outcome for this fight?
The most likely outcome is just basically when I decide to end it. I'm trying to think in my head how I want to end it. I think I don't necessarily see myself even needing to use a takedown. He's going to fall down a couple times probably if he gets back up. And eventually I see myself probably damaging one of his joints pretty severely.
This man went in, I saw some video clip, and this man said with full conviction that he was going to tomahawk elbow me in the face or head or some shit. And this man has clearly been watching too many John Wayne movies. You're not John Wayne. You're more like Johnny Ringo. That's who you are. And I'm going to be your Doc Holliday. You remember what happened with Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday?
John Wayne, yeah, he did a lot of Muay Thai, Mike.
That's not you. You were not John Wayne. You were Patrick J. Miletich. The caucasity of you to say you're going to tomahawk. The words that just came out of your mouth right now is how you're going to end this, man. That is wild. Is that to say you'll give me the same question? How I say, look, man, I don't think he understands what he got himself into. My only objective come October 14th is for this man to leave on a stretcher. That is the only objective that I had. And I think people like see me at fights and shit. They see me on TV. They see me taking the cool pictures and all that. And people have no idea of my skill set. Because again, I'm just doing this because I literally just enjoy doing it. Like, you got into it to become a world champion. You're the first UFC champion. You're UFC Hall of Fame. You had all these accolades. You had the Miletich fighting systems. You built that up. I'm just here to, well, you already did the most damage on your own career and your legacy. I'm here to bury Pat Miletich and his legacy. You are a relic of the past. This is not 1998 or whatever year
You became a dominant world champion. You are a relic. And I am going to not only bury you, but I'm going to bury the Miletich fighting systems. Fucking Sam Hogan, that mother, all that. Yeah. I'm taking Sam Hogan with you.
Well, Mike, next question. Do you plan on fighting more in the future?
Ooh, that is a great question. Look, if cool little opportunities like this coming together, look, man, his little buddy that he liked to talk about, Jake Shields. Look, that fucking coward of a man, right? He came to me, since you asked me about it, I might as well just, because y'all had the conversation, may as well bring him up. Jake Shields said some wild shit on the internet, right? As an intellectual, I went to him like a man. I was like, yo, why you saying this wild shit about black people on the internet? His response to me was like, let's fight. I was like, wait. I came to have a conversation. He was like, nah, let's fight. So I laid out, I was like, fine, you want to fight? Fine. I laid out the terms of the fight. He goes to my coach like, yeah, Mike, he wants to fight, but we got to do it at a gym. So he backed out of the fight. Then, as opposed to being in a sanctioned agreement that we made, he wants to jump me with his little Nazi friends. He gets upset. So once again, I say, Jake, here are the terms of the fight. And I have, and I'm going to show Mike so we can all laugh at that. An actual sanctioned fight, make money. Because actually, I want to give a shout out to Mike Goodwin for giving me this idea of what I kind of sent out to Jake about making some money on fighting. And he called me a coward. He backed out. He was like, nah, I don't want to do that. So to your point of who I want to fight, I'm trying to fight Jake Shields in the terms that he agreed to, and hopefully he can do that. So as far as I want to fight, that's my want to fight next.
Well, I was especially impressed by your mount escape when Jake was on top of you. Get this motherfucker off of me.
Context
Somebody
matters.
get this motherfucker
Here's
off
the
of me.
context of that situation. 1, he grabbed me from behind. 2, I was recovering from face surgery. If you know anything about that, if my jaw is recovering from face surgery, why would I allow this man who's a 5-time world champion on steroids? He's a juice head. So, of course, I'm not going to I'm not going to shrimp and mount escape and let this man punch me in the face while I'm recovering from surgery. I was going to assume the people that were around him would have stopped that cowardly thug from doing that. But that's fine. I am recovered from face surgery because I'm now facing you. So once I do whatever the hell I'm about to do to you, Jake Shields is next if he decides to accept the fight. That, which is wild, because I have he agreed to the terms, and then he didn't agree to the terms, and I said it was going to be money on the line, which is really weird. Y'all are all cowards, dude. Own your shit.
Pat, do you plan on fighting again after this, or have you
Hell
looked that
no,
far?
he's not fighting after this. Hell no.
This is for Mr. Miletich, Mr. Jackson.
Fair enough. My bad.
I think we have other fights that we need to deal with in our society and in our country right now, and that is helping people mainly, first and foremost, understand where true health comes from, and it doesn't come from laboratories. It comes from the plants that God created for us, and that's literally where it comes from. And I hope that more people start to wake up to that and change their health. I've watched people over 35 years after healing my own respiratory disease that I dealt with my entire life as a child, healed myself, and that's the only reason I won a world title. That's the only reason I was able to coach so many people. That's the only reason I was able to train military for many years and law enforcement and all these different people, because I healed myself. And that's really, when people are healthy, they have the ability to not live in fear and not be told that, because you have these comorbidities and all these other things that you have to do what we say. I want people to live with less fear because they're living truly healthy lives, and they're educating their children how to do that as well.
I did cut you off in the middle of that. Did you want to finish your thought there, or no? Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be the end of those questions. I didn't know if we had any questions waiting for us live on the Zoom, or if we should move on to questions in the audience here. But while we're waiting on that, are there any questions that are pressing there in the audience right now?
Before anyone answers, those are some really good questions. Those are really thought out questions.
Thank you. None of them were mine at all, so I appreciate
see,
that. Someone
you
appreciates that.
should have took credit, but I'll
That's
take
not
it.
me.
That's fair.
not me.
That's fair. I like that. Very well. Very well.
So I think right now we're looking to see if we have questions waiting for us on the Zoom. Get that loaded up.
Zoom is cool. I enjoy like the technology. Things just progress in cool ways. Like, who would have thought of Zoom like 10 years ago? I didn't think of Zoom. You can have like little online chats and meetings, and then got people who can send their questions immediately. I dig that. Did you think of that? You didn't think of that.
Go ahead, down in front. This for Mike? Okay. That's okay. Mike, for the people at home that might not have heard that, what he asked was, at the beginning, January 6th, the incident that everyone up here was talking about, he was wondering why, being friends with him prior and knowing him so well, you didn't go to him first as opposed to going public with your thoughts, concerns, and everything else. Did I pretty much hit that?
So again, MMA is a weird space. You're gonna have many degrees of separation of people in the community. At the time, like prior to that, again, we can have conversations and dialogue, right? But I personally, and again, this was when we first met. Life has changed dramatically since that time. We've definitely, as a society, become more polarized. I understand through our conversations, even by that time, we weren't even really talking anymore, right? And my only instance of that was when he posted the picture at the insurrection, and he had his little, again, he says they're not his friends. I have no idea. But the dudes are throwing up the white power signs in the photos. Again, I put out in my blog post, which he was speaking of, the blog was written based off of the video that he put out. Now, I did add a little bit of extra in there, but again, if you're at an insurrection, to me, I understand I know where you stand. And in my mind, if you're at the insurrection, and again, I know his past MAGA support, and again, we've had these conversations. So it was kind of like building up to that. I know the foundation of his beliefs. And for me, that was just the end of it. Particularly him taking a picture with a dude throwing up the white power sign, the Proud Boys, 2%, whatever the guy had on in the photo. So at that point, I was like, yo, I can't be friends with this guy at that more. But again, all I did, my post who he claims I'm the one who got him fired, my post was only about the video that he put up, say, hey, I got fired for going. He keeps saying that I was the reason for him getting fired. I was never the reason. My post that I made was based off of the video he put out saying that he got fired.
So wait a minute. Your article that you wrote saying that I was a supporter of domestic terrorism and white supremacy, how did you get to that point?
You were at the insurrection. That's it. That's it right there. That's how I got to that.
A million people generally go to Washington, D.C. completely unarmed to overthrow the government. I mean, that's obvious, right? I mean, the talking points that you're using, calling it an insurrection, being spoon-fed by the media with all of these talking points. It's ridiculous. It was 1 million people in Washington, D.C., and a few people that we observed who were obviously not there for good purposes, wearing all black clothing, masks, backpacks with baseball bats in them, and everybody in the crowd was going, "Where's the baseball game at?" Nobody attacked them. Nobody did anything. We knew what they were there for. They were easy to see, but they didn't get attacked, right? They didn't get attacked. We just know that there are people that are being placed in these crowds for optics on both sides, and we observed that. We very clearly observed that, and so ultimately, I think it's important, Mike, that I did nothing wrong.
Well,
I did nothing wrong.
We'll agree to disagree on
Right.
all. I'll agree with that. Because to my understanding, you didn't go into the Capitol or anything like that. I'm aware that the feds reached out to you. They were trying to inquire, right? So I'll acknowledge that. But again, to your point, if you're there, again, the picture he posted, he didn't have to post that picture. He didn't have to post the picture that he posted with the guys doing the. If I take a picture and I got the dude doing the white power sign, I'm probably gonna leave that photo out. He decided to post it. So we're gonna have to agree to disagree on beliefs and all of that and plants.
Number one, the hat that got pointed out with the initials on it, I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't even see it, number one. And I didn't even notice that a guy was making the okay sign with his hand. He was 3 people down from me, taking the picture anyway. So
And you
it is what it
posted
is. I took pictures with people of a lot of different backgrounds
you
that day.
posted that
I took
picture.
pictures with people from Latino backgrounds, black backgrounds, Chinese backgrounds, Jewish backgrounds. I took pictures with a lot of different people that day.
Fair. But you posted that picture. That's the photo that we're talking about. We're not talking about the other photos. You didn't have to post that one. You could, shit, he got the white power sign up. Let's not post that one on Facebook. But you posted it.
The problem is that people are becoming emotionally programmed by the media, and you're thinking with your emotions and not logic when it comes to a lot of this stuff, unfortunately. And I do feel some pity for you. I do. I feel some pity for you by the way you react to this stuff, and I think it's important that don't bring emotions to the cage. Don't bring any emotions to the cage, because that's going to make it that much worse.
Fair enough, Pat.
On that note, I wanted to check and see if we had any other questions submitted from the Zoom meeting, or if there were any other questions down on the floor at all. Go ahead, sir.
I have zero and
He asked, how has your animosity affected your training leading up to the fight with Pat?
I have zero animosity toward Pat. My animosity, if you want to call it, is simply toward white nationalism and the ideology. Look, it's all about branding and labels, right? Even the whole Jake thing, right? Jay got mad because I called him a Nazi. I was like, look, I lump all white nationalists together. You can be a Nazi, a Klansman, a Proud Boy, whatever you want to be. I don't differentiate between y'all. Y'all are all the same to me, right? So it's all about branding to these guys. I have to him personally, no animosity. Like, this man no longer has any effect on my emotion. In the beginning, I was really upset because this is someone that I called a friend. Him and we had this guy, he was my manager at one time, Reagan McDaniel, also known as Fritz Fowler. We were all a little collective together. I was under the impression that, particularly when all the Black Lives Matter and all of these rallies were going on, I was under the impression that someone that I called my friend and my brother, they would support me, right? But they didn't do that. Over the whole thing, I literally lost 2 friends. I lost Pat as a friend, and I lost Fritz Fowler, Reagan McDaniel as a friend, because they chose to go with these crazy ideologies over supporting someone that they called their friend and their brother. So to your point, do I have any animosity toward him? No, because he means nothing to me at this point.
I think it's important to understand that I had nothing against Black Lives Matter. I had problems with people burning their neighbors' businesses. That's what I had a problem with. I had a problem with Antifa doing the same thing and destroying their neighbors' businesses. These are innocent people who didn't deserve to get their businesses destroyed. That's what I'm talking about. And we know that there were people who were placed in those groups who were causing a lot of that agitation for the optics, right? The division. And we talked about that. And I pointed that out. And you didn't want to hear any of it.
All right, any other questions from the floor at all? Go ahead and back. Okay. All right, this question was for both of you. How does this fight turn out considering the 20-ish year age difference?
Sir?
I think the fight obviously wouldn't even be considered if I was in my 40s. You know, it wouldn't. I mean, even in my 30s and 20s, of course, it wouldn't be considered because I'd punch a hole through his sternum and pull his spine out. I'm a little slower and not quite as strong as I used to be, so he might last a little longer. That's really about what it comes down to, I think.
I will actually agree with that because, again, for me, I just fight because I just enjoy doing this shit. For him was to be the best in the world. So I will agree with that. In his 20s, in his 30s, and possibly even his early 40s, he would beat me. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. But this is not that. He's not in his 20s. He's not in his 30s. He's not even in his 40s anymore. This dude is pushing in his mid-50s, and he still thinks that he's a 35-year-old man. That's not reality. I don't know what world he's living in, but it's going to be bad. I'm letting you know right now. It's going to be bad.
Good question, by the way. Anyone else out there with any questions or? Go ahead.
I don't know. I didn't ask for this. He begged me. He was texting me. Look, how all this started, again, he got in his feelings. He's like, bro, you affected my life, my children's lives. Like, I'm going to knock you out in 5 minutes. Like, first of all, this is supposed to be a kickboxing match. He said, yo, let's do some boxing. I was like, go to sleep, Pat. Like, it's like 1 a.m. And then he was like, nah, I'm going to knock you out. You can't, I'm a machine. You can't hang with this machine. I was like, cool, go to sleep. And then out of nowhere, promoters reached out to me and was like, yo, he's serious about fighting you. I'm a prize fighter. I fight for money because I think this shit's cool. I'm a fucking options. I day trade. I take photos. I get to spend my days making money in my underwear at home before I go do some. Look, I just get to do cool shit throughout life. This is one of these cool shit moments. Again, it wasn't me saying, Pat, let's fight. I kept telling them no. But when someone says, we're going to pay you to fight, I can't say no to that.
Another great question out there. I want to check again one more time, see if there's any more questions out there. If not, we're going to give each of these guys a chance to maybe give us some final thoughts, close this thing out as we set our eyes towards October.
I get to do
Mike,
that.
go ahead.
I like this guy right here, though. That's going to be me. And like, we're probably like 30 years apart. That's going to be me.
Can't do that in your underwear, though.
Touche.
But go ahead with any closing thoughts, anything that you want to leave us, the rest of the fans, anything like that as we head into October 14th. Caged Aggression 36, Bad Blood.
Ooh. Nah, man, look, Pat, he's building this up. I'm here for the get down. I know what this man is capable of. I'm be lying. I don't know what he's really capable of. I knew he was capable of about 20 years ago. That's the guy I'm expecting. I'm expecting the UFC Hall of Famer. I'm expecting the first UFC welterweight champion to show up October 14th. That is who I'm training for. I'm not even training for whoever this guy is right here sitting beside us. That's not who I'm training for. I'm training for the best. Like he said, he wants the best of me. He's going to get that. I am training and expecting the best Pat Miletich ever. I'm not expecting CM Punk. I'm not expecting Phil Brooks. So, I don't know. I hope because I know this is a big fan base he has out here. People love Patrick out here. That's dope. I really enjoy that. And I hope those individuals support him the way that he feels that they do. Because again, all these people that talk all this shit in the MMA community, none of that matters to me. When I get on Twitter and I get like when Jake Shields like comments and then he has like hundreds of people like in my mentions, in my comments, I thrive in this toxic ass environment of MMA. None of it matters. I'm gonna wake up, he's going back to sleep, and I'm going back to Houston on the Truth Food. Actually, real quick, I need the dopest food spots in Davenport, Iowa, because the Truth Food Tour I'm gonna get after you, my man right here with the Cowboys.
Where was that? Go to Rudy's.
Go to Rudy's. I'm gonna be at Rudy's one of them days when I'm out here. That's what's important to me as well is food. I love to eat. So if you got some establishments that want to support and sponsor the Truth Food Tour, I am there. Again, this is my first time in Iowa. So if you know what the dope food spots are, let me know so I can patron those individuals. Give them my money for food.
Just make sure you eat Rudy's right before the fight so we can spread all over the people in the front 3 rows.
Okay, see, I'm definitely not eating Rudy's right before the fight.
Because that's where it's going, brother.
No.
That and all your that and a lot of the fluids out of your body, they're coming out, brother.
Anything else you wanted to add to that before we wrap it up, Pat?
No, I just again, this is for all the people out there that had to deal with this mass cancel culture garbage that we experienced the past 3.5 years. And, a lot of people were negatively affected. And I think it's time that citizens come together and unite and understand that we can keep ourselves healthy through natural means. And I'm a big believer in that because I've witnessed it for 35 years, and I think that's super important. So I just care about my fellow Americans. I care about the truth. And not the truth, not Mike the truth. I care about the truth, right? So that's where we're going with this.
Yo, by the way, cancel culture is not real. It's called accountability. That's it. Cancel culture is not a real thing.
All right, so on that note, don't forget, folks, we're coming up on our 2-night event, Caged Aggression 36, Bad Blood, Miletich versus Jackson. It'll be a 2-night event, October 13th and 14th. These two gentlemen meeting in the main event that Saturday night, October 14th. Thank you all for being with us live here in attendance and at home. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. We appreciate all the questions, your guys' time, and hopefully see everybody in October.